Okay, so when I say hard negotiation, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably some tense, aggressive showdown, right? Well, for the pros, it's something totally different. Let's pull back the curtain on their playbook.
So, the big question is it really just a battle of wills? A corporate war zone where one side wins and the other loses? That's how most people see it, but honestly, that's a dangerous illusion. It can actually cost you the best deal you could have gotten.
And this is where things get really interesting. On the left, you've got the illusion, all about conflict, pressure, aggression. This idea that for you to win, they have to lose. But the reality, the way a true pro sees it, is over on the right. It's not a fight, it's a strategic equation. The goal is absolutely to get maximum value, but, and this is key, in a way that can lead to mutual benefit. And you do it while preserving the relationship. You don't have to burn bridges to win.
So, how do we get there? Well, we're going to break down this pro playbook into 5 key parts. We'll start with where all your power comes from. Then, we'll get into the tactical rules of the game. After that, we'll explore an advanced tool, like time, touch on the super important human element, and finally, we're going to completely redefine what a real win actually looks like.
All right, first up, the foundation of strength. Seriously, this is the absolute bedrock of any successful negotiation. Everything else we're going to talk about today is built right on top of this one principle. In that principle, it's all about your BATNA. That stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. To put it simply, it's your plan B. It's what you'll do if you get up and walk away from the table. And this isn't just some nice-to-have idea. It is the single greatest source of leverage and confidence you can possibly have.
So, how do you actually build a strong BATNA? Well, it all comes down to this. You've got to have your alternatives lined up before you even sit down to negotiate. Have that backup supplier ready to go. You need to know your numbers cold. What's that absolute walk-away point where the deal just stops making sense? This isn't about gut feelings or emotions. It's about cold, hard, pragmatic math. When you genuinely don't need the deal, that's when you're in the strongest position to make a great one.
Okay, so once you've got that foundation of strength, let's move on to our second big rule, the nothing for free rule. This is where we get into the real mechanics, and honestly, it's where most novices make their biggest mistake.
And that mistake is just giving something away without getting something back. Every single concession you make has to be a trade, always. Look at these examples here. They want you to accept their price? Fine. But in exchange, you ask for 100% prepayment. They need you to agree to a certain volume? Okay, no problem. But you trade that for a 45-day delay on your payment. It's always a trade.
And what's so important to get here is the psychology behind it. By putting a price on every little thing you give up, you create this psychological balance. Your counterpart starts to get that your flexibility isn't free. They actually start to value what you're giving them more, and it stops that one-sided slide where you just keep giving and giving.
All right, ready to get a little more advanced? Let's talk about our third principle, using time as a tool. In any deal, the price is just one variable, but time is another one, and sometimes it can be even more valuable.
This plays out in 2 main ways. First, payment deferral. Think about it. Getting an extra 30 or 60 days to pay, that's basically an interest-free loan that helps your cash flow. It's huge. Second, you've got time pressure. Do you know if your opponent is rushing to close this deal before their quarter ends? Because if they are, their deadline just became your leverage to get better terms. Okay, we've talked tactics, we've talked strategy. Now let's shift gears to something just as crucial. The human element. This is what really separates the good negotiators from the great ones. It all comes down to that timeless rule. Be tough on the problem, not on the people.
And there's a really clear 3-step path to nail this. First, you have to separate the person across the table from the issue you're discussing. Second, practice active listening. Really listen. Sometimes when someone is stuck on a price, it's not really about the price. It's masking another pressure, like a target they're ball set. If you can figure that out, you can solve their real problem. And third, always use objective criteria to frame what you're asking for.
And that last point is so powerful. Look at this example. Don't make it personal by saying, I want a lower price. That just puts people on the defensive. Instead, you depersonalize it. You anchor it to facts. Saying something like, the average market price for this is actually 10% lower, totally changes the conversation. It's not a personal demand anymore. It's a discussion about data, which is way easier for the other side to work with.
All right, let's bring all this home. We need to talk about what a win actually looks like. Because for a pro, getting a signature on a contract, that's not the finish line. It's just the beginning.
And this might be the most important takeaway of all. The real goal is the successful execution of the agreement. It's the start of a partnership. If you squeeze every last penny out of the other side and they leave feeling like they got ripped off, that partnership is doomed from the start. A true victory is one that's ethical, sustainable, and actually works for both sides.
This quote just nails the whole philosophy, doesn't it? A discount isn't something you just get, it's something you trade for. You're offering them real value, your future business, a bigger order, a quick decision that helps them hit their numbers. It's always an exchange. So, as we wrap this up, I'm going to leave you with this one question to really think about. The next time you walk into a negotiation, ask yourself, what is the real goal here? Are you just fighting for a signature on a piece of paper? Or are you trying to build the foundation for a successful long-term partnership? The answer to that question will change everything.